When I moved to this charming little town, it felt like walking straight into a different era. The locals were friendly, and everything moved at a much more relaxed pace than the fast life I'd left behind in the city. I settled into a modest home and landed a nearby job, slipping into country living easier than I expected. My neighbors were a mix. Some had deep roots in the area, others were fresh faces, each with their own backstory. It wasn't long before I felt like one of them, jumping into local events and forming bonds with folks around town. One of the most intriguing people I met was Mr. Hayes, who ran a big farm just down the road. His daughters had all moved away, and eventually, he sold the place and retired down south, leaving behind a property that stirred up a lot of interest. After the Hayes family packed up, the farm sat empty, and its silence hung heavy in the air. The town buzzed with rumors about who might buy it next. New owners finally bought it. People said they were wealthy and from up north. The estate included a farmhouse, a barn, various outbuildings, and over 200 acres of productive land. The farm had done well for years, until Hayes got older, his daughters moved on, and he made the decision to sell. Though some folks worried about his well-being, he was in good shape and determined to leave. There was really nothing they could do. I actually found the whole situation a little entertaining, and like my aunt, thought his daughters always came off a bit full of themselves. One rainy afternoon, I spotted one of them, Cadillac broken down on the side of the road, steam pouring from under the hood. I pulled over to help, but she looked terrified and refused to roll down the window. It was cold and pouring, so I climbed up Hayes Hill, the only place around with cell reception, and called the sheriff's department. Aiden, why didn't you help her? Wendell from County Dispatch asked me. I tried. Wendell. She wouldn't even open her door. I answered, a little defensive. Well, get out there and do something, he shot back. All right, let me grab my slicker. It's cold, wet, and pitch dark. She's probably spooked out here alone, I said. If you hustle, I've got some leftover barbecue you can bring back to the station, Wendell teased. Yeah? Take your sweet time, Wendell, I muttered, not really amused. If you move fast, I might even spare a slice of the fatty end, he added, laying it on thick. Fine, no offense taken. I'll be there in 10. I gave in. About 20 minutes later, Wendell and I drove back. She was still there, crying behind the wheel. Wendell showed his badge, and she finally cracked the window. Ma'am, do you need help? He asked gently. Yes, please, she said, clearly relieved. There was smoke, then the car just died. I couldn't reach anyone. I'm glad you found me. Well, I didn't find you. Aiden did, Wendell corrected her. He's pretty good with cars, used to fix them before everything went digital. Didn't take me long to spot the issue. The lower radiator hose had split open. You're gonna need a new radiator hose, I said. When Wendell drops you off, call 8AA and they'll come tow it. She immediately freaked out again. I can't just leave it here. If my husband finds out, he'll lose his mind, she cried. Wendell looked at me and said, Hey Aiden, think you could tow it for her? Even though it was late, freezing, and pouring, I couldn't just leave her stranded. I'll take it to my place and stash it behind the fence where it'll be safe. That work for you? I offered. Thank you. We'll pay you whatever it costs, she said. Officer, can you please take me home? She added dramatically, like Wendell was some kind of savior. He rushed to help her out, but just then, a call came in about an accident over on Route 12. Wendell had to respond. Sorry, ladies. I'll swing back later. And don't touch that kebab. I'm coming back for it, he warned. Sure thing. I'll stash it in the store fridge. Lock the door behind you this time. I reminded him. You're never gonna let that go, are you? Wendell groaned. Not as long as it still smells, I shot back. Mrs. Coleman, ready to head in? I asked, finally learning her name. She and her husband were the new owners of Hayes's place. When we got to her house, it was completely dark. Why aren't the lights on? I asked. Power's out, she replied. Didn't you notice how dark it got that last stretch? What now? She mumbled, clearly stressed. You have a flashlight or lanterns? I asked. Not that I know of, she admitted. Well, that's something you should probably have. Mr. Hayes had a generator in the old store. Any idea if it's still there? I asked. No clue. We haven't checked, she said, a little clueless. If it's hooked up, it should be feeding the house, I explained. Turns out, it was still running, barely, just 4 hours of fuel left. If it holds, you'll be okay till the power comes back, I reassured her. I'd suggest buying a diesel drum just in case, I added. She nodded, scribbling notes like she was prepping for a test. I'm gonna go grab your car now. Here's my card, my number's on it. If you need help before your husband shows up, give me a call. Your car'll be at my place. Address is on the card too. Good night, Mrs. Coleman. I really can't thank you enough, she said with exaggerated gratitude. No need. Sleep well, I replied. Once I knew she was safe, I called Ella. Where have you been? Why didn't you call? She barked. Sorry, babe. Sheriff called. Ethan was out, and they needed me to tow a car. I'll be home in about an hour and a half, I explained. They better be paying you well for making you do this in this weather, Ella snapped. Don't worry, I'll make sure it's worth my while, I said, trying to calm her. I didn't realize at the time, but for her, it was always about money. Her parents had plenty, but a year ago, she started acting like we were barely scraping by, and I never really understood why. After picking up the trailer and the Cadillac, I finally made it home. Ella was already in bed. She'd left a sticky note saying dinner was in the microwave. I grabbed a quick bite, jumped in the shower, and crashed until morning. The next day brought sunshine and warmth, a big shift from the storm. The store was quiet, so I had the car fixed up before noon. Around then, a man in his 40s wearing a business suit stepped into the office. I'm Henry Coleman. I need to arrange pickup for my wife's car. Who's the best mechanic in town? He asked. He spoke with Logan, my assistant. Logan pointed my way and came over. Aiden Porter. I introduced myself, smirking a little. Sorry, Mr. Coleman. We're not laughing at you. Just the whole Coleman and Porter thing, Logan said. Coleman gave a polite smile. Let's hope we're not about to start a feud, he joked. I'd left my gun back in Philly. I turned mine into a plowshare years ago, I said with a grin. So, how can I help you today? I need someone to tow my wife's car. Know anyone reliable? Coleman asked. I already fixed it this morning. Just needed a new hose and some coolant. If she comes by before 6, she can drive it home, I told him. He blinked, surprised. What do I owe you? $40. Receipts in the glove box, I replied. No, I mean for your labor, Coleman clarified. I can't charge you, we're neighbors. Around here, kindness doesn't come with a price tag, I explained. He looked puzzled, so I added, now, if you were renting equipment, that's a different story. Or if I needed a lawyer, you'd bill me. But this? Just a favor. He came back later with his wife, and I'll admit, she was younger and far better looking than I expected. She thanked me so many times I finally asked her to stop. Call me Mia. We're neighbors now, she said, offering her hand. I introduced her to Amelia and Logan, who were working nearby. Mia asked for a quick tour and seemed unusually fascinated with our tools and the circus tent structure we rented out for weddings. Meanwhile, Ella was getting antsy again, grumbling about wanting a new car like Mia's Cadillac. Her Impala, which she had insisted on 2 years ago, was suddenly not good enough. I reminded her we couldn't trade it in for another couple years. It's already worn out, 39,000 miles. I need a better car, she snapped. No, you want one. We can't turn our lives into a contest with the neighbors. He's a lawyer. Your car's perfectly fine. If you really want one, buy it yourself, and don't put my name anywhere on the paperwork, I told her. See, I knew how she operated. Her credit was awful. Back when we were dating, she defaulted on a car loan and racked up credit card debt. I helped her with the car, but I drew the line at bailing her out of that plastic money trap. I don't trust credit cards. They're designed to bleed you dry. You've got two, though. She'd always throw back at me. Yeah, for business. I use the Amex when necessary and keep the other active with a couple charges a year, I'd explain. Before we married, I had her sign a prenup that kept my house and business off the table. My parents had owned the house before me. It became mine when they moved out west to live with my sister. Ella assumed everything had already been transferred to my name, and technically it had. I'd worked hard to get where I was. Started by doing subcontract work for home builders. I got tired of driving 45 miles just to rent gear, so I decided to start my own business. I reinvested everything for 3 years, didn't spend a dime outside the company. In year 4, I paid my parents back. By the time I met Ella, I'd built something I was proud of, and I didn't want to risk it. We met at a Christmas party for contractors. I wasn't planning on going, but I got bored and showed up anyway. Ella came with another guy, but we danced, and there was a spark. As I was leaving, the hostess leaned in, kissed my cheek, and handed me Ella's number. Call her, she said with a wink. I meant to, but the holidays hit and I got swamped. About a week before Christmas, she showed up at the store, talked to Amelia, and pointed me out. "I'm here to pick up a rental," she said, handing me some paperwork. It read, "Male escort for Christmas party. 5 hours. Must be a good dancer, polite conversationalist, able to kiss. Training available if needed." We laughed and went for coffee. Amelia insisted I get a proper suit, so she and her husband dragged me to the mall. After trying on 8 different suits, she finally nodded. "This is the one." Then came the shirt, tie, socks, shoes, the full makeover. "You're not picking my underwear too, are you?" I joked. "Dark blue silk boxers," she said, deadpan. "You should feel as sharp as you look. Please remind me to fire you later." "Only if it comes with a severance package that includes a fashion show," she teased. "If I beg, will you let us go home?" "Maybe, if you promise to get a haircut tomorrow," she smirked. Her husband was cracking up the whole time. Feeling sharp, I rented a Cadillac Escalade for the weekend. When I showed up to pick Ella up, she opened the door wearing this stunning green dress, thigh-high slit, deep neckline, barely held up with tape. Despite the daring look, she somehow pulled it off with class. At the party, we danced and mingled. She was the center of attention. She got plenty of dance invites, but handled it gracefully. During a slow song, one guy got a little too handsy. She grabbed my hand and walked away from him. "No more slow dances unless it's with you," she whispered as we sat back down. On the drive home, she leaned in close, nibbling my ear at stoplights. We kissed at every red light until people behind us started honking. Before she got out, we ended up fogging the windows. 20 minutes later, she asked if I wanted to come in for coffee. I sat on the couch while she went to change. Just as I was dozing off, someone cleared their throat. I jolted and nearly fell off the couch. When she said she was getting out of the dress, she meant everything. I was too stunned to speak. She got anxious when I didn't say anything right away. "Look, I really like you," she said. "Usually, I'd make you wait a dozen dates. Candles, music, maybe some whipped cream. But I'm done pretending." She offered 4 months of dating, then 12 hours later decided to test the mattress. I only left to grab breakfast. The Escalade didn't move for 2 days. 2 months later, we were living together. 5 months after that, we were married. We figured we'd enjoy a few years together before having kids. She was 25, I was 29. But 3 years later, I started hinting at starting a family. That's when things shifted. She became demanding, greedy, even. Suddenly, our 4-bedroom house wasn't enough, she needed a new one. Then she maxed out a credit card and gave me the silent treatment for 2 full days. When I paid it off and cut her off financially, she still made a decent income, but somehow was always broke. I paid for everything: bills, insurance, maintenance. Her only responsibility was groceries. Still, her closet overflowed with clothes that still had the tags on, and shoes that had never touched the pavement. After the car argument, she didn't speak to me for 5 days. On day 6, she came home and found me pulling her stuff out of the closet. She stood there, saying nothing. "I'm not living like this anymore," I told her. "If I'm going to feel alone, I might as well be alone." "I called your mom," I told her flatly. "She agreed to take you in for 2 weeks. We'll have something lined up by then. I'll cover the deposit, the first 2 months of rent, and set up the utilities," I added. "But after that, you'll need to learn how to manage on your own." She fainted, just dropped to the floor. I undressed her carefully, laid her down, and cooled her forehead with a damp rag. When she came to, she looked confused. "Aiden, I had the weirdest dream. You were throwing me out, but I don't remember why." Then she noticed the packed suitcases and her clothes piled nearby, and the crying began. "Please, please don't make me go," she begged, sobbing into her hands. I let her cry until she wore herself out. "Wash your face and meet me in the kitchen," I told her. She sat down at the table, eyes low, still sniffling. "I'm serious, Ella. I can't keep living like this," I said. The tantrums, the reckless spending, refusing to even talk about a family. "I don't even recognize you anymore. If you want out, just say it. If not, something has to give," I told her firmly. She finally spoke up, admitted she was terrified of becoming a mother, that her past haunted her. She was the middle child in a broken home. Her parents split when she was 12, and the fallout still echoed in her mind. "I still see my mom crying," she said quietly. "She drank too much, ignored us. Dad vanished halfway across the country. I don't want to do that to a kid." I reached for her hand. "I'm so sorry that's your memory of growing up," I said. "But I'm not talking about a house full of kids. Just one." And if we decide on another, we wait a couple of years. But I'm not leaving. Ever. For the next 3 weeks, we mostly avoided each other, drifting through the house like strangers. But slowly, the distance closed. She stopped her shopping sprees and even opened a savings account. 3 months later, she showed me the balance, and I was stunned. "Don't get too proud," she said dryly. "It'll be gone soon." I assumed she meant a new car. But no, she had other plans. She was buying furniture for a nursery, and I was expected to paint it. "What did you just say?" I asked, blinking. She gave me that sly smile, that smile women give when they know they've turned your world upside down. "We're having a son," she said softly. 7 months from now. The nursery has to be finished, so you'll need to slow down at the store, especially as we get close. I'd never cried in front of her before. She had just come back from the doctor, sat down in my office, and casually told me she'd stopped taking her pills to surprise me. When the tears hit me, she panicked. "Did I do something wrong? I thought this is what you wanted. If you..." I didn't let her finish. I pulled her in and kissed her all over her face. Later, when we stepped outside, Amelia spotted us and tilted her head. "What's going on with you two? You look like you just got smacked and liked it." "Amelia, can you keep a secret?" I asked. She nodded, but we both knew she couldn't keep anything quiet. "We're having a baby," I said. "A boy. 7 months from now. Please, don't tell anyone. We want to surprise my mom." Amelia just muttered something while pulling out her phone. I turned to Ella. "You did tell your mom already, right?" Ella smirked. "I stopped by her place before I came here. By lunchtime, everyone in town knew. People were congratulating us left and right. When we walked into the store, a banner hung above the counter. Congratulations, Aiden and Ella. It's a baby. The pregnancy wasn't easy. At 7 months, the doctor put Ella on bed rest. Her mother moved in to help. Lucky me. Labor dragged out for 17 hours before they finally performed a C-section. Completely wiped, Ella groaned. "Never again." I didn't argue. She had her tubes tied before we even left the hospital. Our son, Ethan Noah Griffin, came out weighing almost 9 pounds and had a full head of black hair, just like his old man. The nurse warned us it might change, but it never did. Becoming a parent hits you in the chest. It's beautiful and overwhelming and scary as hell. Your life doesn't belong to you anymore. Even when they're older, your world still circles around them. Random getaways and last-minute weekends disappear. Everything's scheduled, even a grocery trip. Ella didn't exactly bloom as a mom. She loved Ethan, sure, but as soon as I walked through the door, she'd hand him off like a hot potato. "Baby recovery time," she'd mutter, heading for the wine. I loved having him in my arms. I'd talk to him about all the things we do together. He never cried when I held him. Ella hated that. I'd walk in to hear him screaming, but he'd settle down the second I picked him up. I took 2 weeks off after he was born. When I returned to the store, a new sign was up: Griffin and Son Equipment Rentals. No junk. Amelia and Logan were grinning ear to ear. I damn near cried. My desktop slideshow rotated through pictures of Ethan, me, and, yes, even Ella. I gradually got closer with the Colemans. One day, Mia stopped by, wanting to rent a tractor for her garden. "I can't rent it to you," I said. "You don't know how to use one." She looked offended. "Why not?" "Because they're dangerous if you don't know what you're doing." "I'm not risking that," I explained. "Besides, you've already got the best option, Mr. Hayes' old Yamar. Perfect size for your garden." "It won't start," she grumbled. I knew she'd go find someone else if I didn't offer. "Battery's probably dead. Tomorrow's Saturday. I'll swing by and take a look." "I don't want to drag you away from your family," she said. "They'll be with me," I replied. That Saturday, I packed up Ella and Ethan and drove out to Mia's place. She scooped Ethan into her arms and didn't let go for over an hour. Ethan was crying in the car, but the second she picked him up, he calmed right down. Ella, of course, didn't like that. While I hooked the charger up to the Yimar, Henry and I scouted a spot for the garden. "You sure you want her driving that thing?" Henry asked, clearly uneasy. "No, not really. But she's stubborn. Just stay nearby and make sure she doesn't flip it," I said. We chatted while Mia and Ella made sandwiches and potato salad in the kitchen. We sat down to eat and went over Mia's ideas for her garden. After lunch, we headed out to the barn where I gave her her first real tractor lesson. I walked her through everything: the brakes, throttle, hydraulics, gears, start to finish. "Keep this in mind," I told her. "Unlike a car, a tractor won't stall. Once you let off the clutch, it's moving. If you start in a high gear, you could pop the front wheels, or worse, flip it on a slope. Always wear a seatbelt and use the rollover bar, no matter what, I warned. I had her drive slowly in low gear while I walked alongside, calling out instructions. Once she got the basics, I showed her how to use the 3-point hitch and then attach the rotary plow. Never run the tractor without equipment hooked up. On steep slopes, it keeps the machine from flipping, I explained. She drove a few passes with the plow, beaming while Henry snapped photos like a proud dad. I parked the tractor, yanked the key out, and said, "Battery shot. A buddy's coming Tuesday to install the bar and seatbelts. Until that's done, don't touch it," I added. "When can I drive it again?" she asked, practically bouncing. "Next Saturday, we'll show you how to switch out attachments too," I said. We exchanged hugs and handshakes, then hit the road. On the way home, Ella was oddly upbeat. "Her house is gorgeous, nothing like Hayes's place used to be," she commented. She mentioned having a trust fund and still owns her grandmother's house up north, Ella added, watching my reaction. "Good for them," I said, keeping my tone even. "They've earned it." Later, I caught her researching the value of some paintings she'd noticed in Mia's house. Turns out, she was right, some of them were worth thousands. Ella went back to work not long after. She loved her job, and we didn't exactly need the extra income yet, but she'd go nuts stuck at home. We actually enjoyed teaching Mia to drive the tractor. Hen gave it a try too, but he wasn't nearly as thrilled about it. Mia got her garden going and eventually bought a small cultivator. When she picked her first batch of string beans, she cried like a kid winning a prize. Despite my warnings, she kept expanding that garden like it was therapy. "Hen leaves before sunrise and gets home late," she said. "I need something to do, and now I've got plenty of material for my blog." She started a blog called Gone Country, a mix of humor and heart about her rural adventures. I showed up in a few pictures and videos as her so-called spiritual guide to the country life. It got awkward once Amelia started following it religiously. Mia wanted her garden as organic as possible, so I introduced her to a buddy who owned horses. He gave her free manure in exchange for help mucking out stalls. She called her work gear the crap uniform on the blog. There was even a photo of her wearing gloves, boots, and a red bandana, grinning like a soldier. Twice a week, she cleaned out 3 stalls, and that compost pile just kept growing. Ella came with me less and less. Mostly, all I heard from her were groans about compost, bugs, and crop rotation. I brought Ethan with me instead, set his carrier in the shade, and let Mia get her baby time in. She doted on him as much as she did her tomatoes. One day, as we talked, I asked gently if she'd ever wanted kids. "Yeah," she said. "We tried. When nothing happened, we got checked. Hen, it turned out, was infertile, something tied to his teenage years. We talked about adoption," she added. "But he couldn't get comfortable with the idea. So I let it go. He's still my person. I couldn't imagine life without him," she said, holding Ethan. "Sometimes, I hold this little guy and think about what I'm missing. Then he fills his diaper and I'm thrilled to hand him back. Here, take him," she said, shoving him at me like he was a biohazard. Later, Hen joined us in the shade and pulled me aside. "Aiden, I've got a favor to ask," he said. "My partners and I are hosting a big meeting, and I want to do a real Southern barbecue. Can you and Ella handle the food? I'll pay you." I hadn't cooked for an event in years, and I missed it, so I said yes. Hen and Mia were clearly relieved. "Thanks, Aiden. We'll need tents, tables, chairs, the works. Mia will coordinate," Hen explained. "This is a big deal. Almost all our clients will be here, and I want to wow them." With just 3 weeks to plan, we started meeting with Mia daily. My first question, "How many mouths are we feeding?" "80 confirmed," Mia said, "but plan for 100. We can't run out of food." "How many kids?" I asked. "None. Just adults," she said casually. I frowned. "What?" she asked, catching my reaction. "Nothing," I said, hesitating. "Out with it, Aiden," she insisted. "Okay. I think you're sending the wrong message. This is the South. Family matters. Invite spouses and their kids. Make it feel real and personal. Call everyone. Ask about kids, their ages. Set up some games or something. A personal touch goes a long way," I said. She immediately called Hen. "Did you send the invites yet?" she asked. "Nope," he replied. "Good. We need names, spouses, phone numbers. I'll explain later," she said, then looked at me, clearly impressed. "You ever think about running for office? You'd win with the kebab vote alone," she joked. "Nah. I've just been to more than my share of parties," I said, chuckling. Mia worked the phones hard. That guest list ballooned from 100 to nearly 300 people. We hired 3 local girls to help with serving. Ella, Amelia, and Logan all pitched in. The weather was perfect, hot, but manageable with a soft breeze. We set up a massive dining tent and installed fans to keep it cool. We cooked 400 pounds of pork, 20 chickens, and 2 full briskets for Hin's Jewish clients, clearly labeled for kosher. The sides? Potato salad, coleslaw, baked beans, zucchini casserole, and grilled vegetables, most fresh from Mia's garden. Desserts were old school, homemade cakes, brownies, and ice-cold watermelon slices for the kids. By the end, I was dead on my feet, but it was absolutely worth it. We planned for 300. 420 showed up, thanks mostly to families bringing kids. People mingled and talked for an hour before dinner officially began. We went with a self-serve setup to keep the event relaxed and welcoming. To keep things family-friendly, we didn't allow alcohol in the main dining tent. Instead, we set up a smaller marquee off to the side with 2 kegs and a simple bar, which we opened an hour after dinner. The senior partners made sure everyone understood drunken behavior wasn't acceptable. Kids ran around laughing, climbing on equipment, and enjoying the games we'd set out. Hin and Mia floated from group to group like seasoned hosts. The men talked business, the women shared stories under shady trees with soft chairs. From across the lawn, I watched Ella in her modest sundress, beaming as folks complimented our food. We gave out more business cards than I could keep track of. Near the end, we brought everyone into the tent for a quick speech. I had a small PA system ready. One of the senior partners grabbed the mic and thanked everyone for coming, giving praise to Hin and Mia and a nod to Ella and me for hosting. Then, unexpectedly, he wrapped it up. That's all I'll say. It's been fun, and I'm not here to ruin it with speeches, he said with a grin. We've got extra food, please take some. And the ice cream's ready. He got a standing ovation. The ice cream machines offered chocolate, banana, pineapple, blueberry, and vanilla, something for everyone. Kids and adults alike ended up with brain freeze. Mia's garden tours were a hit. She handed out tomatoes and beans straight from the vine. We chilled a few of her watermelons for dessert, and they became the highlight of the seed-spitting contest. The kids were thrilled. Ella nearly fainted when Mia handed her the check. Since it turned into a full corporate event, Hin had the firm foot the bill. Attached was a second check, a 25% bonus, with a thank you note from the senior partner. I split the bonus, paid Logan, Amelia, and the girls who helped, then handed the rest to Ella. She earned it. Hin's firm handled business law, and word got around fast. Calls started coming in for catering and planning. Demand exploded, so we registered the business. Ella quit her job and stepped in as the manager. She had a knack for it, and only got better. All rental gear now ran through us. I promoted Amelia to rental manager, and she brought her husband on board after his layoff. Everything ran smoothly, except one thing. Ella now ran the show at work and home. This is your fault, Aiden, Amelia teased. You built the beast. I laughed. At least I get to sleep with the boss. Ella started dressing sharper, taking evening client meetings, walking like a CEO. Eventually, we made enough to buy her that Cadillac she kept circling in magazines. Saturdays became a blur of events and meetings. She handled the plans. I dealt with the crew, food, and logistics. We actually made more from parties than equipment rentals. But we saw less and less of each other. Then came the string of late-night meetings, 3 Saturdays straight. I finally hit my limit. If there's one more late meeting, I'm out, I said. I won't cook, plan, or show up. This was supposed to be a team effort. She snapped back. I want a husband, not a coworker. Pick, business or marriage. I didn't answer. I just walked into Ethan's room, picked him up. He'd woken from all the yelling and rocked him gently. The next Sunday, she had another late meeting. True to my word, I didn't help. The event tanked. Clients were unimpressed. That evening, she came into the kitchen, waving a white handkerchief. I was feeding Ethan and didn't look up. Nope. She looked shocked. I want full surrender. No bargaining, I said calmly. Then I picked up Ethan. We're going to see Hin and Mia. Back in an hour. Ethan adored Mia, and she returned the love. One of his first words was Mia. She cried when he said it. He had just started walking and always ran straight to her. That day, Hin pulled me aside while Ethan played. Hey, Aiden, Hayes' old race car in the barn. Think it can be fixed? Not fixed, but rebuilt, I replied. Why? I've always wanted to race, he said. Big NASCAR guy. How's Mia feel about it? I asked. She's nervous, but agreed to watch one race, if you say it's safe. It's mostly safe. Accidents are rare, I said. So we rebuilt the car together. Hen took lessons from a few old-school racers and started racing Fridays at the dirt track. Ella and I were doing a little better, so we went one night to watch. It was loud and dusty, but Hen was clearly in his element. Logan and some local kids made up his pit crew. Hen had the lead, but near the end, his speed dropped. He pulled into the pits looking pale and exhausted. The heat and fluid caught up with him. We got him out and poured water over him. He was crushed. He needed to finish to keep his point lead. Logan said, "He can use a sub if he's sick." He looked at me. "No way. That cage is too small. I won't fit," I said. "Someone his size could," Logan pointed out. We both turned to Mia. She backed away. "Oh, no. I've never even sat in it." "You don't need to race," Logan said. "Just stay in gear, hang back, and finish. He'll get the points." Hen looked at her. "Please. I want that trophy. The cage will protect you." She looked at him, then sighed. "Fine. Hand me a helmet. But if I crash?" Not a word. I told her as we strapped her into the car. "Stay low. Keep your speed steady. They'll leave you alone." "You sure about that?" she asked, visibly nervous. "Not really," I admitted. She slammed the gas pedal anyway, flinging gravel in her wake. The first 15 laps were uneventful. Most racers gave her space, except one. He was just behind Hen in the standings and saw her as an easy target to jump ahead. The next lap, he clipped her hard, jolting her nerves. Her voice crackled through the headset, panicked. "What the hell is he doing?" "He's trying to knock you out," I said. "Next time he comes at you, brake hard, then gun it. He'll bump you, but won't have enough speed to do damage and might lose position in the chaos." She did exactly that. He lunged at her again, she braked, he tapped her bumper, and she shot off. He got tangled in a pile-up behind her. She took the lap clean, but he caught back up and this time rammed her into the wall. The caution alarm sounded as she pulled into the pit, eyes locked on the crumpled fender. "Can you fix it?" she asked, breathless. We could have bent it back, but there wasn't time. She was fired up. "Rip it off. Get me back out there." "I'm putting him in the wall," she growled. "Go," I nodded. Logan yanked on the wing while I buckled her in again. "Don't be reckless. He'll try again. Watch him," I warned. "Clear," Logan shouted. She tore out like a stolen Maserati, carving through the pack. When I saw the next hit coming, I yelled, "Left, cut left now." She veered up track, and the guy missed, crashing into another car. By the time the track cleared, she'd climbed to third. She crossed the checkered flag first, but due to caution laps, she placed 7th. The guy who tried to wreck her? Dead last, he dropped even farther behind Hen. Mia hopped out, ripped off her helmet, and smirked. How does it feel to lose to a girl? She slapped her rear and giggled, hugging Hen tight. The guy stood there, stunned. I stepped in. "Be respectful. She beat you clean. Learn from it." His pit crew looked ready for a fight, but then started laughing. He turned and walked off. Ella, of course, was snapping pictures like a journalist at a scandal. Mia was hooked after that. She dipped into her trust fund, bought a car, and joined the women's division. Even though she started late, she managed to win 2 races that season. Hen finally got his trophy, and they were already planning for the next year, both cars decked out in their firm's branding. Our business logo went on there too. It was a small outlaw track, mostly for fun, but plenty of pros had started on dirt just like this. For Hen and Mia, it became their thing, their bond. Ella and I? We had nothing in common anymore, except Ethan. Business was booming. We had 2 full crews now. Ella dressed sharper, walked taller, and treated everyone like she was the CEO, which, to be fair, she was. She joined a women's business group and started attending bi-weekly meetups for drinks. I didn't mind at first. When she got an award for business leadership, I was genuinely proud. But at the banquet, when I was introduced as her husband, a few of her friends looked surprised. I wasn't as oblivious as they assumed. Later, I joked, "Some of those women looked shocked to find out you're married. You got a city husband I don't know about." Her face turned red. "No, honey. They just didn't believe I had a husband. They thought I made you up. You should come to Mixers more so I can show you off." It sounded innocent enough, but something didn't sit right. We were swamped with work, so I didn't press. When fall came, things eased up, and we went back to our regular crew. They were so well-trained we'd sometimes let them run things while we just checked in. Some even became friends. One day, Hen's boss called. He asked me to cook for Hen's birthday/racing celebration. He wanted to honor Hen and let him brag about his racing success. "I'd ask someone else," he said, But you're Hin's best friend outside work. I didn't want to offend you. How many people? I asked. About 40. Just friends. We want you there as a guest, not a caterer. I'd be honored, I said. Let's keep it simple. I'll handle pork, chicken, and slaw. Let the wives bring sides and dessert. It'll feel more personal. I told Ella the date. I have an event that day. We signed a contract. I can't bail, she said. I was irritated. They're our friends. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't even have this business. You don't need to stay, just check in. Make sure things are smooth, then head back. She didn't budge. The day of the party, I got everything started and ran back home. Since our backyards connected, Hin and I had built a quad trail through the woods from my patio to his porch. If I saw a pink helmet on the porch railing, I knew Mia was over. The party was going strong when Ella called. I'm stuck, but I'll be there in an hour. We were low on ice, so I went back for a few bags from the deep freezer. My car was blocked, so I took Hin's. It ran out of gas halfway there. I started walking. Coming up the trail, I passed by our patio and saw movement through the blinds. Someone was getting intimate on our couch. Thinking it was some dumb neighborhood teens, I was ready to call it in. But then I recognized Ella, and one of Hin's younger employees. My first instinct was to storm in and deck the guy. But Hin, former divorce lawyer, once warned me, don't react violently to betrayal. It only weakens your position in court. Shaking with rage, I remembered Hin's advice and ducked behind the trees. I dialed his number with trembling fingers. Hey, buddy, what's the holdup? Should I send Mia over? He asked casually. No, I said quietly. I need to talk to Mia directly. A moment later, Mia came on the line, voice calm and sober. I need help, I said. I just saw Ella at the house with someone else. I need a witness. And a lawyer. There was silence. Then she replied, her voice tight with emotion. Stay put. We're coming. 20 minutes later, Mia pulled up with Hin and two of their friends. Are you sure, Aiden? She asked softly. I held up my phone and showed them the photos I'd taken. One of the women stepped forward. I'm a divorce lawyer, Aiden. A good one. I keep a separate practice. My husband encouraged it. I can help if you want. I knew her socially but had no idea what she did for work. Mia hugged me. Just keep Ethan in mind, she said. Thank you, Ava, I said. Yes, I want your help. Ava nodded. The hardest part right now is staying calm. Don't confront them. Don't speak unless I tell you to. It'll work in your favor. She flashed a sharp smile. But if he puts hands on you in front of witnesses, feel free to respond. Hin glanced at his phone. They're almost here. Let's go. They orchestrated the whole setup. The senior partner pulled into my driveway under the pretense of picking up ice. The rest of us stayed outside, just beyond the glow of the patio lights. He knocked on the door. Ella? We're here for ice. Aiden said you'd help us. No answer. Well, he said loudly, Aiden gave us a key, so. He opened the door. I hate being in someone else's house when they're not home. Inside, Ella and her lover were scrambling to gather their clothes. The man bolted for the deck to hide in the dark. When I flicked on the patio light, the expression on his face was priceless, wide-eyed, shirtless, clutching pants and sneakers. For phones clicked, snapping pictures in unison. Ella came running out moments later, dressed but panicked. She screamed when she saw us on the porch. The senior partner raised a hand. Not one word. Be in my office Monday morning at 9. That's all. He turned and walked off like a general after issuing orders. Mia and Hin sat beside me silently, each gripping one of my hands. Ava handed me her card. Come to my office at 2 p.m. Monday. Then she hugged me. We returned to the party. I just didn't want to be in the house. Most folks left early. I stayed the night in their guest room, unable to sleep. Mia woke me with Ethan bouncing on my chest. It's impossible to sleep with a 2-year-old, I muttered, though I smiled. I hadn't even thought yet about how to protect him. Mia had picked him up early, telling my mother-in-law I was having too much fun. Ethan smeared syrup all over her face as she let him feed her. It made me laugh. Hin said we'd talk once Ethan was down for his nap. That afternoon, we had our first planning session. Divorce? Mia asked bluntly. Yes, I said. We stopped sharing dreams a long time ago. She wants the city. I'm a country man. My life's here. What about Ethan? She asked. I want full custody. A child doesn't fit her lifestyle, I said. Hin nodded. She doesn't want him, but she knows keeping him gives her leverage, Ava added. If we're not careful, she'll use that to milk a bigger settlement. We agreed to keep things calm and avoid turning the process into a war. I didn't see Ella for nearly a week. Then, suddenly, she was at the house. It took everything I had not to toss her out. She saw the look in my eyes and hesitated. "Please," she said. "I just want to grab my things and see Ethan for a little while. I'll leave right after. Take my car keys if you want." I let her play with Ethan. Though he barely reacted, she'd ignored him so long, he seemed indifferent. She asked for the keys to open the trunk and then wanted help with her bags. I followed her to the car. As soon as it started, I grabbed the keys and tossed them into the gravel. She screamed as I unbuckled Ethan and pulled him from the car seat. "He's mine. You can't take him," she shrieked. Ethan wailed, confused and frightened. She kept yelling until she noticed Mia filming everything with her iPhone. Mia rolled up on her four-wheeler. "Ella, leave now. If you want to see Ethan again, go through the court. You have 10 seconds before I call the sheriff." I had more to say, but Ethan came first. Ella stomped off, still screaming. Mia captured every second. The next morning, Ava had the footage and filed for an emergency injunction. Ella would need a psychiatric evaluation before visitation. She'd moved in with the same guy from the party, who was promptly fired. The firm used careful words, but the message was clear, no references. He found a job elsewhere, but for less money. I sent a letter to our clients explaining I was stepping away from the business after fulfilling current contracts. Ella would take over. I considered quitting for good, but Ava advised against it. "You've built something reputable. You may want it again someday. Besides, it gives Ella an income, makes negotiations easier." Ella hired her own lawyer, and the process began. She demanded the house, but it was still legally owned by my parents. She wanted the party equipment, but everything was leased from my company, protected by our prenup. She couldn't afford it anyway. Ava froze most accounts, allowing funds only for payroll and basic needs. Anything left over after expenses went into an account Ella controlled. It was the cleanest, most balanced arrangement possible. Ella held out until her lawyer and Ava convinced her to accept. She wanted one final meeting to vent. I declined. Her lawyer, by the way, her 5th boyfriend in 18 months. Ella's new crowd were all the same, polished city types with empty wallets. I couldn't mention any of them without muttering "goddamn cow" under my breath, but I kept it civil for Ethan. He was nearly 3 and barely seemed to notice her absence. She got the catering business, and I got 1/4 of the profits, along with full custody of Ethan. Her visitation came with strict terms, no men around him, and she had to follow the rules to the letter. Mia and him became my rocks, helping me sort through the mess of grief and fury. Even Ella's mom babysat occasionally on the condition that she wouldn't help Ella sabotage the agreement. Mia, with Hen's support, became like a second mom to Ethan. Hen had a photo of the 3 of them on his desk. People assumed Ethan was his stepson, and he didn't correct them. It helped him look like a family man. What he didn't expect was for me to name him and Mia as Ethan's legal guardians in my will. "You've always been a family man," I told him. "You've got a good woman, and you've got us." I'd never seen a lawyer tear up like that. I dated a little, nothing serious. Mia kept nudging me, said Ethan needed a mom figure. "He's got one," I'd say. "When I find the right woman, I won't waste time." Then Charlotte came along, recently divorced, new in town, and the senior partner's daughter. Her dad asked me to escort her to a banquet. "She's beautiful, if that helps," he added. I agreed and showed up in a rented Cadillac. Charlotte was tiny, barely 5 feet, but sharp, charming, and stunning. She smirked when we met. A real-life redneck. "Do you bite?" "Yes," I replied straight-faced. Hen, Mia, and her parents cracked up. The tone was set. It was a high-end charity event, and Charlotte talked nonstop nerves, she claimed. "Do you ever stop?" I teased. "Only when something interesting is in my mouth," she fired back. Hen almost choked. Mia burst out laughing. Charlotte danced with her father once, Hen once, and spent the rest of the night with me. While near the bandstand, Ella showed up with a date, Lucas Barnes. "Good to see you," she said flatly. "Meet my escort, Lucas Barnes. His father founded Barnes Bank." She looked worn. He looked bored. Mia and Charlotte joined us. Charlotte kissed my cheek and said, "Miss me, love? Good. I want you miserable. It makes our reunion more fun." Then she turned to Ella sweetly. "Oh, I'm sorry. Who are your friends?" Mia could barely hold back laughter. I kept it cool. "Charlotte, this is Lucas Barnes. And this is Ella Blankenship, a local businesswoman, and my ex-wife." Then I turned to Lucas. "This is Charlotte Chambers, of Chambers, Lucas, Howe, and Coleman. Care for a waltz? I asked her. We left them stunned. Mid-dance, I whispered. Mia told you who she was, didn't she? Yep, Charlotte smiled. Don't worry. I think she's already losing tonight. After the dance, she kissed me like we were the only people in the room. Think she saw that? I asked, breathless. Definitely. Thanks. My pleasure, she said. Later, Lucas asked Charlotte to dance. Ella tried her luck. Just one dance, for old times. I promised my partner all of them, I said. So did I, Charlotte chimed in. Ella blinked. They left soon after. Mia laughed the second they were gone. I looked at Charlotte. Good thing you're not staying long. She frowned. Why would you say that? I like you. Because we'd spend all our time fighting people off. You keeping guys away, me keeping women away. She grinned. What makes you think I'd stop you? She didn't. We spent every spare minute together. Mia wouldn't let Ethan go with us on weekends. Not unless you're serious, she warned. Charlotte was incredible, smart, playful, and unexpectedly passionate. She never told me her age, but I guess she was in her 40s. She showed me pictures of her daughter, who looked about 13. She's with my ex now, she said. We're moving 3,000 kilometers away. That one hit me hard. Ethan losing someone he adored again. It hurt to even think about. I poured my energy into a barbecue joint. Amelia ran rentals solo now. The restaurant was a huge time sink, but it worked. Eventually, I bought 4 food trucks and sent them out during the week. They did great. I stopped dating seriously. Figured I'd had my run. But life doesn't wait for timing. Ethan was 9 when it happened. After school, he'd ride the bus to Mia's, hop on his 4-wheeler, and cruise through the woods. She'd always wave to me when I got home. She made sure he had a snack, checked homework, let him help in the kitchen. He even had a room at her place for overnights if I had plans. Then one day I got a call. Ethan was crying. Daddy, come quick. Mia's on the floor, and she won't get up. I rushed over and found her curled on the floor, shaking and sobbing. Before I could call 911, my phone rang. It was Hen's boss. Aiden, I need you to check on Mia. We lost Hen. Heart attack. He didn't make it. I almost dropped the phone. Hen was gone. My best friend. Mia's everything. I pulled her onto the couch and held her like a child. We wept until we had no more tears. Hens will ask to be cremated, his ashes scattered across the land he loved. This is the only place I ever felt at home, he'd written. The funeral brought together an incredible mix of people. Hen's clients, fellow lawyers, dirt track racers, old friends. Even Ella showed up and hugged Mia. During the visitation, Mia sat quietly with Ethan curled in her lap and Ella's mother beside her. Those two had formed a strong bond through Ethan, and it showed. Mia's eyes kept following me around the room. Anytime I disappeared from view, she seemed uneasy. Hen was just 52. Older than Mia, yes, but active, healthy. Doctors called it an undiagnosed underlying condition. No clear cause. After the funeral, people drifted back to their lives, but we stayed behind to help Mia find her footing again. Ethan, Sophia, Ella's mom, and I moved in with her for a couple of weeks. By the end of the second week, she was eating again, getting dressed, and even smiling now and then. Reading the will made it real. Hen had left behind letters. One for Mia, which she never shared. One for Ethan to open on his 18th birthday. And one for me. Dear Aiden, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Thank you for your friendship. You made me a better man. Helped me slow down and enjoy the ride. I've set up a college fund for Ethan. I know you don't need it, but it made me happy to do it. He's going to be an amazing man with your guidance. Please take care of Mia. I know how deeply you love her, even if you never said it out loud. She's going to need you now more than ever. I'm sorry I won't be there to watch Ethan grow. Don't give up on finding someone. Thank you for being the friend I didn't know I needed. Most of his estate, the farm, investments, and personal belongings, went to Mia. He also donated to the racetrack and had it renamed in his honor. Mia tried to stay, but after a year, the grief was still thick. I can't be here anymore, she told me. He's everywhere. Every sound, every corner. She moved to Philadelphia. Ethan cried for 2 days. I cried in private. She'd been our anchor for nearly a decade. Before leaving, she handed over the keys and asked us to watch over the farm. I visited regularly to keep it clean and running. She left the power on and installed a security system. Meanwhile, Ethan was growing into his own, making friends, inviting them over, filling our house with laughter. I made a point to meet every friend and their parents. Some of the moms were divorced. I dated a few, nothing serious. Business-wise, things were booming. I opened new restaurants, another equipment rental shop. Ella's business tanked without the sweet rental deals I used to give her. Her chef walked out, and eventually she had to shut the place down. She took a job as an office manager for an insurance company, married a lawyer, and divorced again after just a year and a half cheating, predictably. She still saw Ethan on holidays and birthdays, but she was mostly a shadow in his life. One evening, I came home exhausted after launching another restaurant. Sophia and Ethan met me at the door with suspicious grins. "What?" I asked, glancing down, half worried my fly was open. "We have a visitor," Sophia said. Then Mia stepped into view and flew into my arms, sobbing. We'd kept in touch, monthly calls mostly, but I'd always encouraged her to come home. "How long are you staying?" I asked. 30 or 40 years, she said, smiling through tears. "I'm home, Aiden. I'm done with the city. I want to see stars, not smog. I want you. I want Ethan. I want my friends." I hadn't felt real joy in years until that moment. We got her house cleaned up. She looked older, worn out from grief and city life, but every week she grew stronger. Riding her tractor, working the garden, laughing again, it brought her youth back. Sophia moved into a nearby assisted living place. When she was bumped into a larger apartment, I asked for her bills. She tried to argue, but I shut it down. "You've always been there for us. Let me return the favor. You deserve space, and Ethan deserves weekends with a happy grandma." End of story. We ate dinner together every night. Ethan split his time between our house and Mia's. 3 months later, Mia and I quietly began dating. Movies, concerts, dancing, it was all easy, natural. She visited Hen's old law firm and cried, but they welcomed her with open arms. They made sure we were invited to every firm event after that. She always told people we were just old friends, but it didn't feel that way, not anymore. One evening, we sat on the porch swing, watching Ethan and his friends zip around on four-wheelers. It was chilly, so we huddled under a light blanket. I stopped the swing and looked at her. "Marry me," I said. She blinked. "What?" "You heard me. I've loved you for years. And you love me too, even if you won't admit it. I'm tired of living like we're still waiting. Let's stop this musical chair's life and build something." She hesitated, eyes filling with tears. "But our age. I know you're 50. I'm 43. Doesn't matter. I love you, and I'll keep loving you until I don't exist." I took a breath. "This is an ultimatum. Marry me, or I swear on Hen's memory, I'll never step foot on this farm again. Yes or no? Right now." Silence. I turned and walked halfway back to the porch, heartbroken in real time. Then she tackled me from behind, and we tumbled down the steps. Ethan rushed over. "Mia, are you okay?" "Yes, sweetheart," she said, catching her breath. "I just got some really good news. I'm going to be your mom, officially." He hugged her tight. "You always kinda were. But now I can say it out loud. I love you, Mom." The wedding and reception became local legend. Amelia pulled off a miracle. We were married in the spring in the meadow at the farm. A castle tent hosted the reception. Hen's old colleagues came. Even Charlotte flew in to visit her parents and kissed Mia, telling her how lucky she was. I realized I'd owe her a conversation later. The racetrack guys restored Mia's car and presented it as a wedding gift. The years passed in joy and calm. Ethan graduated college, got married, and he and his wife went into business together. We gave them my old house, fully remodeled, as their wedding present. They gave us 3 grandkids, one named Henry. Sometimes Mia would drift into a quiet sadness, thinking of Hen. On what would have been their 50th anniversary, I surprised her with a painted portrait of him by a well-known artist. She cried for 2 hours. Then we hung it over the fireplace. At night, when the fire's glowing low and our youngest granddaughter is curled in Mia's lap. Sometimes, I swear, from my old recliner across the room, I can still see Hen smile.